Hey, it's Soul with, believe it or not, the first Warcraft Weekly of 2023. 2 weeks ago, we were off. Last week, it was, kind of a dud, but this week, boy oh boy, we've got topics to discuss and new things to look forward to. So let's have a strong start, hit that like button, subscribe for more copium-filled commentary, and let's talk the big news. The Inspiration Catalyst is opening up in less than 2 weeks. And there's a patch too. But who cares, right bros? I mean, World of Warcraft is all about power and top parses and best in slots. And with the Catalyst finally coming on the 9th week of Dragonflight, we've got to ask ourselves, did it take too long? Yes. Alright, I hear you loud and clear. After all, from earlier statements, it certainly sounded like the WoW team agreed that waiting for the Catalyst to open up in Shadowlands Season 3 took way too long, and yet, here we are again. I'd at least argue that the context is very different here though. Vault of the Incarnates doesn't quite have the stopping power and multiple power gates that Sepulchre of the First ones did. From observation though, while they're well intended, I think the WoW team made a mistake with the Catalyst at its very foundation. Their intent is for the Catalyst to be a way to catch up in case of bad luck, which it'll do for sure, and it's not meant to be the way to progress into completing tier. Unfortunately, critics of the release schedule absolutely want the Catalyst to be how to complete tier set bonuses. There are folks out there that want to jump into the season with the Catalyst up week 1, complete tier no later than week 4, and then for the remaining, 5 months of the season? Do whatever, including burning out and complaining where the content is. Now, there's a clear conflict of two opposing interests. Like on one side, we got the WoW team, who kind of maps out when's a good time to unleash more access to these tier set bonuses. Their reasons, I guess they're mostly data-driven, and their end goal is to, nudge people towards completing raid and dungeon content. Not too slow, because that would burn people out, and not too fast, because, well, then where's the content? Their burden is to think of everyone. But on the other side are these individual players who want tier in a timely manner, like now. The reasons behind that are numerous, and without the burden of having to think about everyone, actually screw everyone, especially that one scrub who won the role, that tier was mine. And it's not like they're being unreasonable either. Some players have been like, hey, how about 4 weeks instead of a 6-week wait? Or how about after the race to World First is finished, which is like saying, oh yes, please daddy, please design the game around top players. Time for my take on this here. There's really no way to take on this discussion. I happen to have 4-piece on my tank, so there goes my cred. Lots of people who completed their tier sets would think that, hey, this is fine. But tons of other folks have nothing, and that must be so frustrating. No amount of logic or explanation of big data is going to change the fact that you don't have what you want, even though you deserve it. Now, before I leave you to share your comments, let's consider how the Inspiration Catalyst is going to work in practice. So each week, once the Catalyst opens up, we're going to get a quest to do something, like group content. Complete the quest, and all of our characters, current and future, will receive a Catalyst charge to spend. So it's time-gated, 1 charge per week. At worst, 4 weeks for your main to finally complete their 4 set. Now, it seems like a long time, after waiting for a long time, but let's consider where we're at too. At this point, after having completed 4 of these weekly Catalyst quests, all of our characters now have 4 of these Catalyst charges, and there's no Dragon Flux to farm per character, you just have it. I can switch to an alt, and in theory, I could slam Mythic Plus to get a bunch of tier eligible recipes and have a character with 4-piece in a day. It's like saying that after the 4th week, all of our characters have tier, which obviously isn't true. We still have to get the pieces to convert, but this version of the Catalyst doesn't just give players the opportunity to obtain tier, but it tears down the barrier for anyone who participates. So is 6 weeks too long of a wait for that? Maybe our tune will change once we've really lived through it, but today we're mad, so please leave a comment. Dragonflight's 10.0.5 patch is going to release the week of January 24th, kicking off what hopes to be a regular release of content every 8 weeks. It's actually down from the 11 during the glorious patch cadence of Legion, meaning it's faster content. That means approximately 10 weeks from this video, we're going to see the 10.0.7 patch, and 18 weeks from now, during the later part of May, 10.1. This should be interesting to see, although I wonder if there's going to be a survival guide for this. Welcome to the World of Warcraft Survival Guide for patch 10.0.5. In this guide, we're going to cover the literal nothing that's happening. No good gear, no upgrades, or anything to increase your score. If there's almost one universal critique of World of Warcraft that everyone can get behind, it's how fast or slow that they put out stuff. With Holly Longdale in charge, we're getting some good lip service and a snazzy graphic to drool over, and so far 10.05 looks like it's going to deliver on that small patch promise with minor impact stuff like the Primalist Fury event, but also forever changes with the transmog expansion and the trading post. And that's why I've been talking up this evergreen side of WoW lately, to keep the ideas and requests flowing. The WoW team's plan is to keep going with this approach, so I'm not gonna shut up, and neither should you really. Keep asking for a dungeon finder revamp, or player housing, or race class combos, and dragon riding and regular flying, and yeah, again, player housing. But back to what's coming in 2 weeks. There's a new patch, new features, including the catalyst. You know, what a coincidence. And let's cover a few more highlights that we learned about this week. With the debut of the trading post, players are going to get an extra 500 tender. That's the currency that you earn and you spend on cosmetics. I guess that's their way of trying to pull people back into the game, even if for a month, but this is going to let players complete even more purchases in this inaugural month. And from the read of it, it looks like our earned tender is going to roll from month to month, and we're not forced to otherwise spend everything that we've got each time, unless we run into some eventual cap. Maybe someone out there is going to save like a crazy person in hope that the Brutosaur mount will show up. I have a feeling that it will, but probably without the auction house attachment. You might have noticed a lack of rares in certain parts of the Dragon Isles where you figured they would spawn, and well, that's because the spawn rates were low, and the rare mobs were made out of paper. After the patch, rares will spawn 4 times as fast and have more health, so folks have a chance to making it over to tap it. On the crafting side of things, most items that have had a profession requirement have had that lifted. The exception, of course, is engineering as usual, but now the specific skill requirement has been reduced to 1. And the number of crafting orders that can be completed per day in Dragonflight is 4, down from 20, while I presume that orders that are about to expire won't count towards that. Yeah, that was funny, right? We thought that would be a thing, although I did bring it up to the dev team that, depending on realm size, 20 orders per day is a lot to have per character relative to the traffic that crafting orders were likely to get, so sometimes I'm right, like sometimes. My opinion, this is a great change because it helps curb that behavior of camping public orders really hard while giving up and coming crafters or, just passerbyers the opportunity to complete orders. But this is not, mind you, this is not a sufficient change, nor is it really the complete story. Just like the catalyst, let's paint a picture of what 10.05 is going to be like in practice. With the patch comes the 5th and final Spark of Ingenuity quest, where going forward, players who had completed this questline will have a chance to obtain the item that they need to make more sparks. Now it's random, the RNG is probably crap, but it frees things up a little bit. What is holding people back, though, is Primal Chaos, which in my opinion should become account tradable somehow. There are a lot of character alts who can have crafted gear made, and the Primal Chaos grind is holding those people back, which is throttling the flow of crafting orders that people could use to max their skill levels. On top of that, there's gotta be more availability of Titan Matrix 4s. Already when we run outdoor content, we get a bunch of random blues and purples from weekly boxes and daily rares. I think it would be really cool if I can take one of my fresh max level alts, grab a bunch of cheap resources from the auction house, the Titan Matrix 4s that I've been collecting, and then put in a bunch of orders with some decent commissions. Then I'll go to bed, come back, and pick up my gear. Am I ruining the game because my item level shot up to the 370s or 380s? No, I think I'm just getting started. And that's the show. We gotta thank the fantastic people over on Twitch for continuing to drop by and hang out, to have some conversations, to laugh, and maybe play some video games. It's been a while since we've had some new patrons come by, which tells me that collectively, we're in a state where we ought to tighten our belts and be more mindful. And no one here is obligated to be a patron, but I am super grateful for those of you who continue to help to support the channel. And folks like you, viewer, you help out a ton already because you made it to the end, and I appreciate it. I'm hoping for a very interesting 2023, and I look forward to sharing our reactions right here and over on Twitch, so don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more content, follow and catch me live, and I'll see you for the next thing. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.